Have you ever thought of being able to drive around South America? Then stay tuned as this week we bring you the government's plans to make your life even more comfortable and relaxing, whether you live on the coastland or in the hinterlands. I'm Paul McAdam and this is Guyana 411. Stay tuned. In its first 100 days, the government has delivered on its promise to host the first ever Indigenous Peoples' Rights and Resources Conference, an event which saw over 112 Amerindian leaders participating and discussing matters pertaining to the rights of Guyana's First Peoples.
The Indigenous Peoples' Rights and Resources Conference, which coincided with the 5-day National Two-House Conference, saw over 112 Indigenous leaders participating. The conference allowed for Amerindian leaders to highlight issues affecting their respective communities and at the same time make recommendations.
As leaders, must know our rights. We must know the rights of the indigenous peoples. We must know the rights of the women, of the children. We must know the rights of the human beings so that we could be able to be in a better position to make the decisions necessary for better planning, for a good life in the communities. You would know that for years we have been discussing, planning, fighting for our land rights. This is critical for our survival. Without land to the indigenous peoples, it's like cutting off both feet. Land is critical for our survival. Land is our mother. That is why we don't sell land, at least the real Amerindians or the real indigenous peoples. Because land is more than money, it is life.
The Executive Committee of the National Two-House Council, NTC, was also elected. The council was urged to fulfill its mandate as an independent body, providing advice to the Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. This is in keeping with the government's quest to depoliticize the council as part of its 100-day plan.
My charge to you today is to ensure that good governance prevails in each of our indigenous villages. And that you, as the new elected National Two-House Council, must be able to prepare strategic plans so that Guyanese in our hinterland villages must have access to health, appropriate, adequate health facilities, and also education. The council must be able to fulfill its mandate as an independent body that will provide advice to the Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, and that you must listen to the village councils that are elected in each Amerindian communities so that together you can work towards having sustainable and empowered Amerindian communities.
During the National Two-House Conference, President David Granger announced a new 10-point strategic plan for hinterland development. This plan will seek to address the issues in the public education system, hinterland employment and youth service, poverty reduction, physical infrastructure in the hinterland, culture and sport, the development of an hinterland and indigenous peoples lands commission, which will address the issues regarding land demarcation and titling.
The hinterland comprises over 3/4 of this country's territory. Parts of the country west of the River, however, still endure frontier conditions. Parts of the hinterland could be lawless and dangerous places, or long unwatched land borders with Brazil, Venezuela, and Suriname, or vast unpatrolled open spaces, or unmonitored airstrips, and numberless rivers can become corridors for illegality. The hinterland's evergreen forests and pristine waterways are under threat of damage and contamination. Its physical infrastructure is inadequate for such a vast territory. Its people, for the most part, are poor. Its small, scattered population must bear the burden of a high cost of living. At Cameron, for example, gasoline sells for $2,800 a gallon. Nobody in Prasad Nagar will tolerate that. Your government will ensure that the livelihood of the residents of the hinterland is sustained, that the environment is protected, and that there is a new approach to hinterland and regional administration.
The political structure of Amerindian development are linked to the local government system, and village chief and their councillors are elected to serve for 2 years. Prior to the NCC conference, over 100 communities held village elections, and new 2,000 councillors were elected to serve their respective communities. Amerindian youths are given the opportunity to pursue higher education at the University of Guyana and Serapoto College of Education. In addition, the Hinterland Scholarship Initiative provides the opportunity for Amerindian children to attend some of the top secondary schools in Georgetown. But what about those that are not academically inclined? That young boy or girl who can develop a skill in other areas to serve their community. In this regard, the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs announced that there will be an introduction of a new skills training program for youths, which will see them being certified. This program, which will be launched in October, will replace the Youth Entrepreneurship Skills Training Program, YEAST. Amerindians are regarded as Guyana's first people. When the European discoverers came to these shores, they found that Amerindian tribes already occupying this land.
The coalition government, APNU-AFC, has recognized the importance of the business sector and being cognizant of the critical role of businesses to the growth and prosperity of the country, has created a Ministry of Business to emphasize the importance that it attaches to the private sector.
Since its establishment, the ministry has given key focus to the development of small and entrepreneurial businesses. According to the Small Business Act, there is a particular clause that stipulates 20% of all public contracts awarded must go to small businesses. With this in mind, the ministry is determined to ensure it will become a reality.
Through the Ministry of Business, we will provide added encouragement to small businesses to ensure and to encourage growth. These include establishing a small business development center, administering a credit guarantee scheme, and an interest payment facility for microloans, as well as advancing the Small and Micro Enterprise 20% Procurement Initiative. This will start in 2016 so that SMEs can have a fair chance of being awarded government contracts. In the light of this, we have also recognized the importance of providing training to small enterprises so that they can continue to make the major contributions that they do. In terms of the procurement initiative that I just mentioned, I think training is vital if we want our small businesses to have the capacity to access the billions of dollars that are spent each year by government and are currently not being accessed by small businesses.
Also, to ease the burden of people while setting up new enterprises, there will be the implementation of strategies to reduce time and steps necessary to start a new business. Small business enterprises will also have the opportunity to showcase and market their local products at the Ministry's 2015 Pre-Christmas Expo, which is slated to be held at the end of November 2015. Further, to encourage greater participation from rural communities, the Ministry is contemplating the hosting of regional expos across the country.
We will be holding something that is geared to small business, like a small business type of expo towards the end of the year, towards the end of November. We are still in the planning stages. We're involving the Guyana Manufacturers and Services Association. In that, we are consulting with them, and so we haven't yet figured out exactly how it's going to be done, but there is a committee that is working on making that happen. In addition, we are also looking at regional expos. As you might have known, the Berbice Expo was launched 2 weeks ago, and we're trying to promote and encourage some of the other regions. And I don't think they need much encouragement because some of them are already talking about it. So to have their own expos, and that will act as a useful sort of testing ground for the participants, for those regional businesses, to get their products, to test their products and their services on the regional customer base.
The ministry is aiming towards greater transparency. In this regard, the government plans to aggressively enforce compliance with the Consumers Affairs Act and its provisions through the operations of the Competition and Consumers Affairs Commission, which will target offences such as price fixing, conspiracy, bid rigging, misleading advertisements, anti-competitiveness, and abuse of dominant positions. In keeping with transparency, the Guyana Office for Investment, GoInvest, will be allowed to act without political interference. As such, the entity will be given new direction at the leadership level as well as expanded capacity. A board of directors was established with the aim of managing the affairs of the entity as government worked towards making it an independent body, which will function without political interference and hopefully maximize its potential. Also, Budget 2015 has an allocation of over $200 million for GoInvest. $16 million has been allocated to purchase a truck and a weigh cart to enable the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, GNBS, to expand its quality of service outside of Georgetown. A new industrial policy where the National Industrial Commercial Investments Limited, NISIL, will be engaged in only the proper leasing and proper functioning of estates, so that lands are used for their intended purposes and nothing else. To this end, Budget 2015 allocates over $800 million for the building of roads and other infrastructural inputs in LATEM to facilitate the development of industrial estates in the community.
For the new Minister of Education, Dr. Rupert Roopnarine, the first 100 days of government was about laying the foundation towards a 2020 vision of transforming the education system locally, this with the goal of achieving more well-rounded students. During the first 100 days that Dr. Rupert Roopnarine has been in office as Ghana's new Minister of Education, he commissioned and completed a countrywide audit of public schools and set up a commission of inquiry to investigate and hold hearings across the country. The audits, which were premised on the need to know what obtains at each and every school across the country, are soon to be followed by reports outlining recommendations for the enhancement of education delivery across the country.
We have to assemble a team that will go through the textbooks that are being used in the classrooms. Absolutely everything will have to be looked at. We are not satisfied with the way in which the literacy in the country is going. We are very unhappy about the large number of dropouts from the system. It is not working when you're losing 7,000 people who are not completing school. It's not working if people are coming out of school not being able to read and write competently. It's not working if the standards at the university are constantly falling. These are things we need to address. And we have to begin, I think, to do a thoroughgoing analysis and understanding of what has gone wrong in the education system. And we have to begin at the beginning.
The Education Minister also began soliciting the involvement of all Guyanese at home and abroad in the reformation of the education system. Locally, several meetings were held at the level of the communities. An invitation was extended to the Guyana Teachers Union to participate in the development of policies. The minister also signaled his desire to see music and sports reintroduced into the educational system. Moving ahead with this goal, the Ministry of Education within these 100 days hosted 2 special workshops for teachers, the first focused on music and the second addressing sports.
I really believe that our children don't have the kind of diet that they need. I would like to see music and sports back in the schools, and I'm going to work very hard to ensure that this happens. Obviously, we don't have the money to do everything I would like to do, which is to put a full orchestra in every school, but I'm consoled by the fact that every child is born with a musical instrument, so that we really need to develop school choirs, bring that back in, and give children an appreciation of all the things that music does for the soul.
Meanwhile, following consultations with youth, a draft national youth policy was completed to push youth development locally. The draft policy states the vision of the government of Guyana for the youths of the country and how this vision will be realized. The Ministry of Communities was created firmly rooted in the desire of the new government's vision to build cohesive, empowered and sustainable communities all across Guyana. Within its first 100 days, the following were undertaken to lay the foundation in pursuit of this vision.
Since the local government organs are critical to fulfilling this mandate in the first 100 days, they actively participated in this process. To this end, the Local Government Amendment Bill 2015 was passed and assented to, thereby including the neighborhood democratic councils in the local government system for all purposes. A regional democratic leadership forum was undertaken to convey a new vision for regional development and to ensure participation of the regional democratic councillors so that they could understand and take up their role in service to the communities.
Today, yes, there will be speeches and there will be presentations, but it is important for each of us to recognize that today's forum and today's activities is not designed to be a one-way message. We are here to have a discourse, we are here to interact, and we look forward to having a very interactive session as the day progresses. And as you will notice at the end of the program, there is substantial time allocated for us to take advantage of all that we would have heard here today and based on all of the presentations so that we can begin this meaningful discourse and the dialogue in pursuance of this goal that we all have, the goal of development.
A similar engagement took place with the representatives of the 6 municipalities on issues relating to municipal development in Guyana.
It was recognized and acknowledged that too many of our communities across our country are in crisis and that these communities require constant care and attention, and that the only way that can be realized or made possible is for our councils to be equipped, to have the necessary capacity, and to be empowered to carry out their functions, to discharge their responsibilities to their constituents. The municipalities were assured that going forward, the central government will cooperate with all of the councils and will lend the necessary support to enable them to discharge on that mandate.
Meanwhile, efforts to build cohesive, empowered, and sustainable communities saw 4 new communities being earmarked for township and a new housing scheme being developed in Bartica.
It will be the responsibility of this new Ministry of Communities to prepare those 4 towns into municipalities, namely Mabaruma, Bartica, Madia, and Letem. So they will be upgraded to township status with their own mayor and councillors, and to be able to provide all of the services that the other municipalities currently offer. So it's not only about sanitation issues, but banking services, other governmental services such as passport, driver's license,
land titling, much more comprehensive set of government services, whereby residents in those communities would not have to face the additional hardship, whether they are in the north in Mabaruma or in the south in Letem, to have to come all the way to Georgetown to transact, what ought to be routine governmental services.
A tentative date of December 2015 was also set for the holding of local government elections.
Thank you for watching Guyana 411. Until next time, take care.